Thank you very much for joining us here at the CBI. We're going to talk about Brexit, no surprise, I'm sure. And I'm going to start with the possibility of a second referendum. It was striking to me, listening to Theresa May being quizzed in the Commons last week in fact, how many Labour MPs stood up and asked for a second referendum. Why are you so quick to dismiss the idea?
I haven't dismissed the idea, I've just said it's one option for the future. We haven't dismissed it in its entirety by any means. Our party conference motion said our priority is a trade and customs deal with the European Union. Our priority is a relationship with the EU that works and protects jobs, and our preference, if the government can't deliver that, is a general election. So the people of this country can decide what they want.
So
that's why we put forward the 6 tests.
So if there is a general election, if there is no general election, would you then support a second referendum?
We will keep our options open. Our pressure now is on the government not to accept the deal that Theresa May has brought back. We will vote against it in Parliament if it comes up in its current form. And
under what conditions would you support a second referendum?
We'll come to that when we know what's happening with this deal first. But the priority now is the deal. And then after that, if the government can't deliver and can't command a majority in the House of Commons, as it clearly cannot at the present time, then you ask yourself the question, how stable is a government that doesn't have a majority in Parliament? Isn't it time to have an election so that people can decide who runs this country?
On the subject of the deal, it seems that you could argue that there's quite a lot in the deal that does fit the tests. There's reference to a customs union, albeit in the backstop. There's a future relationship that envisages quite close ties with Europe. Why not back Theresa May's deal? She says it's in the national interest.
What does it do but put us into a customs arrangement for several years that we have no say over whatsoever and can only leave with the permission of the EU?
That's the backstop, yes, which she says nobody intends to use.
Well, why is it there then? If it's nobody's intended to use it, you ask a question why it's there. Also, it doesn't deal with the question of Northern Ireland. What it does is says the border between Northern Ireland and the Republic, the land border, will be an open one. But where's the border going to go? Other than a different trading relationship between Northern Ireland and the Republic and the rest of the UK and the European Union. It doesn't meet those tests.
What about Labour MPs who decide that they think it's in the national interest to back her deal? What will you say to them?
I will say to Labour MPs, as I've said to them, and indeed Keir Starmer is addressing the Parliamentary Labour Party this evening on this very subject, we set down those tests. We do not believe this deal meets those tests. We believe it's our duty as an opposition to hold the government to account, and we will vote against it. And I believe all Labour MPs will understand that, and I believe the Parliamentary Party will vote against this deal, and it will be defeated in Parliament.
So you expect no rebels?
I expect all Labour MPs to agree with this position and ensure that we force the government to accept this deal is not acceptable and is going to have to go back and negotiate something else. She
says there's no time to do that. The time is running out. There is this deal or there is no deal. Will you accept that if you vote against this, you take us closer to no deal?
They've had 2.5 years to negotiate something and clearly have not. And now telling us there isn't time. Well, I simply say to them, this deal is not acceptable. This represents a failure of negotiation. Go back with a message from the House of Commons. This is the kind of arrangement we want for the future. I believe there's a majority support for that. And also, we have actually spent a lot of time talking to people all over Europe in the past 2 years. We can't negotiate, we're not in government, but we've made clear the kind of relationship we want to have. And we haven't sent the equivalent of Liam Fox around the world to sign up for 40 trade deals, none of which exist, and say, well, actually, we can do some business somewhere else, we can cut wages and cut conditions and become a tax haven on the shores of Europe. No, we've said something much more positive.
It does sound as if this could take us closer to no deal, though. Would you be prepared for that turmoil? Would that be a price worth paying to see a general election?
We will demand a deal with the European Union that protects jobs, that protects living standards and workers'
They've said it's
conditions.
just this deal, though, that there is no other deal.
They're bound to say that, aren't they? The EU has a whole history of saying nothing can be changed. I remember the Lisbon Treaty. They went off and renegotiated that quite quickly.
If we look at your intention to lead the country, you would like to be Prime Minister, of course. Many business leaders here want to get a better handle on perhaps just what kind of relationship you want to have with business. You've attacked, the greed is good culture. You want a new settlement with business. You've talked about that today. What difference do you envisage this making to the kind of mid-size business in Britain? Is this going to be, if you're in number 10, does their life change immeasurably or not?
Quite a lot, actually. I talked in my contribution and in the answers to the questions I gave about the problems of starting a business, of growing a business, of finding access to investment capital to get your business going, and how so many fail because they can't access that capital in order to bring a product onto big production as opposed to prototype production. And the contribution that businesses make in communities and the way in which small businesses are held to ransom by big businesses through the non-payment of goods that they, non-payment of bills that they've been sent. And so, but what we'll also do as a Labour government is improve training in our society so there'll be more skilled workers available. What we will also do is improve infrastructure and investment across the whole country and have a transformation funds and a National Investment Bank that support business development for the innovative, high-quality jobs we want for the future. So they will actually be doing very well under a Labour government.
We spoke to the chair of a small stock trader, though, who said that the combination of a no-deal Brexit and a Jeremy Corbyn in number 10 would be Armageddon. Do you think he will bring Armageddon?
He's got a pretty vivid sense of imagination, but tell him I think that he should read something a bit more positive in the future. I don't want a no-deal. I want a deal. And I want a society that works for all. I'm not comfortable living in a society where the UN tell us that there's 14 million people living in serious poverty in Britain. That's an indictment on all of us, on our society, and I want to change that.
But to help those people requires a strong economy. I mean, Peter Hargreaves at Hargreaves Lansdown said that there'll be an exodus of entrepreneurs if Jeremy Corbyn is in.
Quite the opposite. Entrepreneurs are something we support and welcome. If somebody wants to develop a new form of manufacturing, new medical equipment, new scientific equipment, all those kind of areas where we're so good in many parts of this country, a Labour government will be supporting them. A Labour government will be investing in them and their products. They're going to have a good future because we're serious about a growing manufacturing-based economy. What's happened in the past 40 years is we've gone away from manufacturing far more in the direction of a service-led economy. Look at the difference between us and Germany.
Okay.
The German government supports industry, British governments don't.
We've also been reporting about some of the super wealthy in this country looking to move if you become Prime Minister. I'm guessing that is more okay.
Listen, if the super wealthy want to live here, then pay their taxes here and support our economy. Because you know what? However wealthy you are, if you get knocked over when you cross the road, you're going to need an ambulance, and that ambulance is going to come from a National Health Service, and the doctor that treats you is going to be paid for by the National Health Service. Pay your contribution to make sure you and the homeless person who might also be knocked over are equally treated.